The Eastbourne Miniature Steam Railway series. Written by Christopher Audrey. The Eastbourne Miniature Steam Railway was built and is owned and operated by Mike and Rachel Wadey. You can visit it and take a ride on the replica coaches pulled by General, Rachel, and the other famous miniature steam locomotives. The stories in this series are all based on things that have really happened at the Eastbourne Miniature Steam Railway. Oily and the Flood. Day after day, the engines listened to the rain drumming on the roof of the shed. Because of it, no visitors had come to the park for some time. Mr. Mike and Mr. Luke wore things they called Wellingtons. They seemed to have had them on for days. The water in the lake is rising, Mr. Mike told the engines. We might have to move you to somewhere dry. But the rain didn't stop. Where can we go? The engines asked anxiously next morning. Mr. Mike shook his head. Just then, Mr. Luke came in. The boat has drifted away, he said. I can see it on the other side of the lake. Mr. Mike and Mr. Luke squelched round the lake together. They found that they couldn't get near the boat because that part of the railway was under water. The front of the boat had caught under a fence. If the water rises any more, said Mr. Luke, the boat might tip over. We might get it loose, but how? They shook their heads and trudged wetly back to the station. We could reach it if we had another boat, said Mr. Mike. Or you could swim out to it. Mr. Luke made it clear what he thought of that. Then Mr. Luke had an idea. He went into the shed and pressed the starter of Oily, whose proper name, as I'm sure you'll remember, is Eastbourne Herald. What are you doing? The other engines asked. Going to rescue the boat, said Mr. Luke. It's where Rachel found the goose, and the line is flooded. But, quavered Oily, if the line is flooded, I shall get water in my works. And you won't, said Mr. Luke. Wait and see. He coupled Oily to some coaches. That's the wrong end, said the coaches. You're at the back, not the front. Wait and see, said Mr. Luke again. Carefully, Oily pushed the coaches round the line. Mr. Luke rode on the coaches at the front, while Mr. Mike rode on the engine. When they reached the place, Oily carefully pushed the coaches into the water. The coaches shivered as the water crept up their wheels. Mr. Luke in front was careful to keep his feet dry. The coaches squawked anxiously, but were determined to be brave, because they wanted to help. At last the first coach reached the boat, and skillfully, Mr. Luke scrambled into it. The boat rocked, but Mr. Luke steadied it by holding onto the fence. Then Mr. Mike reversed Oily and drew the coaches safely back to the station. They were given a good clean and oiling before being put away in their shed. That night, in the engine shed, Oily became a hero. Fancy going out in all that weather, the other engine said. How brave. Oily never knew if they discovered that he hadn't even got his wheels wet. He certainly never told them.